What if the person sitting next to you on a plane, the coworker in your office, or even your college classmate was secretly recruited by an intelligence agency? Not a movie spy, a completely ordinary person. Today, we're breaking down exactly how intelligence agencies turn everyday civilians into foreign assets.
Welcome back to the Spy Codex. If you enjoy real stories and real tradecraft from the hidden world of intelligence, make sure to like the video and subscribe so you don't miss the next deep dive. Today, we're answering a question most people never think about. How do intelligence agencies recruit ordinary people? We're going step by step through the real recruitment pipeline, from spotting a target to turning them into a long-term intelligence source. By the end of this video, you'll understand how recruitment really works and why it's far more subtle than Hollywood shows. Let's start by destroying the biggest myth. Spies are not usually recruited through dramatic secret meetings in dark alleys. There's rarely a moment where someone says, "We want you to spy for us." Real recruitment is slow, quiet, and psychological. Most recruits don't even realize they're being evaluated at first. Intelligence agencies call these people assets, not spies. An asset is simply someone who provides valuable information. And here's the key idea. Assets are not recruited because they're adventurous. They're recruited because they're useful and vulnerable. So the process begins long before the first conversation. It begins with spotting. Recruitment starts with a phase called spotting. This is the search for people who have access to valuable information. Think about who might qualify: government employees, military personnel, engineers, scientists, journalists, contractors, diplomats, corporate executives. But access alone isn't enough. The person must also be approachable. Officers look for behavioral signals: frequent travel, financial stress, career frustration, loneliness or isolation, ego and desire for recognition. This process can take months or even years. Sometimes officers study hundreds of potential targets before choosing just one. Once a promising person is identified, the next step begins: development. This is the part that looks the least like spying. Development is simply relationship building. The officer finds a natural way to meet the target, maybe at a conference, maybe through professional networking, maybe through mutual contacts. The first conversations are completely normal: work topics, industry trends, travel stories, shared interests, nothing suspicious. This phase can last months, even years. Why so long? Because trust must feel real. The officer slowly learns everything about the target: their ambitions, their fears, their family situation, their finances, their political views, their frustrations with their employer or government. And this leads to the most important concept in recruitment: motivation. Intelligence agencies often use a simple acronym to understand motivation: MICE: money, ideology, coercion, and ego. Let's break this down. Money. Debt, financial pressure, or desire for wealth can make people vulnerable. Ideology. Some recruits believe they're helping a better cause. Coercion. Blackmail or pressure can force cooperation. Ego. The desire to feel important, valued, or recognized. Most people assume recruitment is about money, but ego and ideology are often far more powerful. Once the officer understands the target's motivation, the real recruitment moment approaches. This is called the pitch. The pitch is the most delicate moment in the entire process. If done too early, the target may panic and report the contact. If done too late, the opportunity disappears. So how does the pitch actually happen? It rarely sounds like this: "Will you spy for us?" Instead, it's subtle. It might sound like, "You have such valuable insights, it would really help our understanding if you could share them confidentially." Or, "Your perspective could help prevent conflict and improve global stability." The officer frames cooperation as logical, helpful, and safe. And importantly, the first request is small. Maybe sharing public information, maybe explaining workplace processes, maybe answering harmless questions. Once the target agrees once, the psychological barrier is broken. Small steps become bigger steps, and suddenly the person has become an asset. After recruitment, the relationship changes. Now the asset must be trained and managed, not in a spy school, in short, practical lessons. How to communicate securely, how to avoid suspicion, how to pass information safely, how to behave normally. Meetings become structured and planned. Communication becomes discreet, and the officer becomes what's called a handler. The handler's job is simple: protect the asset, motivate the asset, collect intelligence. A successful relationship can last years, even decades, and many assets continue living completely normal lives. So let's recap. Recruitment isn't dramatic or fast. It's a slow, psychological process. First, spotting the right person, then building a relationship, understanding motivation using mice, making a careful pitch, and finally, training and handling the new asset. The biggest takeaway? Intelligence agencies don't recruit superheroes. They recruit ordinary people in extraordinary positions. And that's what makes real espionage so fascinating. If you enjoyed this deep dive into real spy tradecraft, make sure to subscribe and check out the next video on screen. And now I want to ask you, which motivation do you think is the most powerful? Money, ideology, coercion, or ego? Tell me in the comments.